Good afternoon, everybody. Awesome. I'm super excited to be here with you all. We have an amazing panel lined up, and it's about, can creators and AI make beautiful music together? Because there are people in the room whose livelihoods are being shaped by decisions being made right now in the boardrooms, in server farms, and yes, in the recording studios. Because here's the thing, AI is no longer a concept. It is a daily creative reality. Every time a producer opens a session or a songwriter sits down to write, AI is part of that conversation, whether they invited it or not. Most of the public debate about this happens at 30,000 feet because it's abstract, it's disconnected, and it can be a bit scary. But today we're bringing it to the ground. We're going to pull back the curtain on how people are actually using these tools, where the ethical lines get blurry, and what every music maker in this room needs to understand to protect themselves and the artists they work with. I'm joined by three people who are not just watching this happen, they are in the room where it's happening every single day. So let me introduce these three amazing panelists who are going to help us make sense of it all. We have Francois Quereuil. Welcome. Francois is the head of ecosystem strategy at Moises. He has more than 25 years at the intersection of music and technology, including a decade leading product development for Pro Tools at Avid. Francois has spent his career building the tools that professional creators rely on every day in the studio. Now, as head of ecosystem strategy at Moises, he is helping define what ethical, creator-centered AI music tools actually look like in practice. Give it a round of applause for Francois.
Thanks for having me.
Next up, we have Kevin Griffin, co-founder and CEO of SoundBreak. Welcome, Kevin. Kevin is an award-winning songwriter, producer, author, and performer, perhaps best known as the founding member of the rock band Better Than Ezra. Earlier this year, Kevin launched SoundBreak, an AI music creation platform that allows users to co-write songs using officially licensed AI songwriting models of their favorite artists while providing the artist with rights and compensation. We like that, right? Welcome, Kevin. And last but not least, we have Will Wells. Let's go, Will. Come on in. Will is a multifaceted musician and entrepreneur, having worked professionally as a producer, songwriter, musical director, and audio engineer. He has collaborated with artists such as Quincy Jones, Wyclef Jean, Pentatonix, Imagine Dragons, Cynthia Erivo, and Anthony Ramos, and was the electronic music producer on the Grammy, I almost made it sound like it was one thing, Tony, Grammy, and Pulitzer Prize award-winning hit musical Hamilton. He is also the governor on the board of the Recording Academy's New York chapter. Welcome, everybody.
Check, check, check.
So what are we even talking about, right? I think AI in music means very different things to different people, even the three of you. So when you hear those words, AI in music, what is the very first thing that pops into your head? We can go with you, Francois.
As a musician, the first thing that pops into my head is threat, machines, AI slop. That's the initial reaction, and it's been a journey for me personally to get to the point where I really see the benefits and the opportunities, and that led me to take a job at an AI music company. So now the things I think about are more about things that can enhance my creativity, that can make me sound better, potentially, hopefully. And also, I like to be challenged in the creative process. And I think in many cases, AI will do things that I don't expect it to do, and that's actually a really good thing in my process. So those are
That's
few
amazing. So it's a bit of excitement and unease, right? A little bit. Go ahead, Kevin.
Well said, Francois. I think when I first heard AI and I first listened to Suno and Udio back in April of 2024, I was like, here we go. It felt like 98 when streaming first happened with Napster. You know, BitTorrent streaming, the labels sued those guys. Spotify came up, the label sued Spotify, but quietly, while we were all asleep as songwriters, they did deals, bought equity in the companies, and the songwriters, we know we don't make anything. It's getting better, but it's criminally low what we get paid from streaming. Right. And I saw AI as a more powerful threat to my career as a songwriter. So my thing was, first off, like, oh my God, here we go again. It was deja vu, but also like, what can I do about it to flip the script to see AI as not something that can cannibalize my songwriting, but can be something that could provide a new income stream potentially. And that was kind of the spark for me. So AI was like a threat, but also like, how can I see this a different way, as a new income stream, a new way to connect with fans and advocate for songwriters.
Right. And that makes sense because you know what? Whether we like it or not, it's here and it's not going anywhere. So the fact that you were just, you know what, let me just think forward. That's really important. What about you, Will?
The first thing I thought when I heard AI in music was New Frontier. And it made me excited. I don't know if I ever really felt threatened. Maybe because I'm a little crazy in my head and I like to think that I possess, talents that are unique enough that I'll be able to figure out how to reinvent myself and keep a job because I've always had to. Because if I didn't, then I would not be, I would be living in unfavorable conditions. So I've always had to work. I've always had to earn it. Nothing was handed to me. So I'm like, all right, this is what we're doing. How are we going to figure out how to stay afloat? And it also excited me because some of my favorite creators, very early on in my career, I had to learn a hard lesson of just because I went to Berklee College of Music doesn't mean that my co-creators did. And so that opened, what happened was AI opened up a door for people who may not be trained to even develop their ideas even further. So that made me excited because some of my favorite co-creators are ones that are untrained. So let's see what they do now.
But you just dropped Berklee, didn't you?
You had to give it to me.
That's an amazing point too. It's one of those things when you've been through music education and you've worked really, really hard to get to that point in your career, you might have the attitude of, well, that's unfair. Like they can do this stuff now by just pressing a button. But by the same token, that's what technology is here to do. And if somebody has a creative intent and inspiration, give them the tools to do it. And at first I was a little threatened by that, I would say. But it's good to see that now there's all these opportunities for people to be creative and really get what's in their head into pieces of music.
Yeah, no, definitely. Were you going to say?
I was just going to say, I really appreciate, I know that there's a lot of things that, are intimidating about the fact that technology can turn things around so quickly. But I appreciate the opportunity that it gives to people who otherwise didn't have the means to express their creative ideas. Yeah. That I do like.
So actually, I want to ask you, Will, and maybe you too, Kevin, but in particularly, Will, I know as someone that, works across production, engineering, songwriting, you're wearing several different hats, right? And AI is touching them all in different ways. So which hat feels most at risk right now, or even most exciting?
I'd say kind of the hat that's immediately at risk, so to speak, is the production one. Mm-hmm. Because you can throw a little demo into many platforms and literally in 60 seconds or less have a full production that can sound somewhat commercially competitive and is getting better every day. And so I think that there are still some very real limitations, and so I don't feel threatened really yet, but it's coming. We were talking about it earlier. It's coming like a freight train.
It is. It's crazy. Every day my my MO is I go to Music Row in Nashville. I live in Franklin, Tennessee. I go write songs the old school way. I think the thing that is under most threat, to echo Will's sentiment, is production. There was about 15 years ago, there became this new songwriter in studios. It was the producer who wasn't necessarily a good songwriter, but they were a great track guy. And every songwriting session, who's your track guy? I was like, I don't know. You got to have a track guy. And suddenly they were smart. They were getting songwriting when maybe they didn't have the chops, but they were going to deliver a great demo, which in order to be competitive to get that artist to cut your track, you had to have a great sounding demo. Now with Suno in very short order, you know, the track guy isn't being asked to come to the session. You know, if I'm doing a super pop songwriting session where my production was just so-so, wasn't competitive, now I can, you know, we can write together, and we have that vocal acoustic demo on the iPhone. I upload it into Suno. I give it good prompts and stuff like that, and boom, just for that day as a document to send to the label to say, do you like it? That's all I need.
Right.
Or maybe, you know, then I'll take that song that Suno creates. I'll split the stems into Pro Tools, and then you'll cut a real vocal, your vocal on it, but we'll use that. So in that respect, that's where it's really coming in and threatening kind of a whole lane in music.
And I bet, like, you know, it definitely cuts down the time, because I remember there was, I would say back in the day, right? But and there was that time when we used to spend so much time doing demos, right? Only for these labels to be like, I don't like it.
Yeah.
And so this really cuts it down quite a bit, at least to get the idea out there, so that, you know, we can decide, let's move forward. Let's kind of really, hash out this idea a little bit more.
It allows you to really be more productive.
Right.
Because if I'm writing with another songwriter and it's a country pitch, studies have said it's about a 1% to 2% chance that you'll ever even get a cut, much less the single. So if I can be more productive, we can write, I can, you know, and have a demo that's a banging demo, and then I'm on to the next songwriting session, as opposed to, there are those, maybe you're that producer who we've written, and about the time I'm 2 blocks away from your house, you send me an MP3 of the most incredible demo I've ever heard. Awesome. I'm not that guy. It would take me 2 days to do a good demo. Now I can just bam, and I can be more productive. So in that sense, it's a boon. It's really great.
No, 100%. And Francois, everything that Kevin and Will are speaking about, does any of that framing resonate with you, or do you see it differently anyway?
You know, there's so many different aspects, and maybe I'm seeing it more from the audience of Moises specifically is a little bit more on the entry level, beginner, hobbyist level. People use Moises to learn how to play their instruments. They rip the stems, they take out the guitar, and then they'll practice the chords. And now there's new opportunities to kind of start building up on that and record your own ideas. So while I see more in a professional setting where it's already a competitive job to be a songwriter and a producer, having an edge that allows you to make the pitches faster, have something that sounds good faster, is definitely give you an edge from more of a commercial standpoint and career standpoint. But if you look at more of the hobbyists that are pursuing this for personal reasons, for creative reasons, there might be, I want them to be able to learn and to start learning the process of putting things together. And I think AI actually affords that opportunity. You can do full demos, you can do full remixes of ideas, but you can also use it to learn how, a bass line that was generated and actually sounds really good, so you're going to start playing it. Or the AI will tell you how to make your vocals sound better. And part of it will be, which processes am I going to use to make my voice sound better? So I think there's also that opportunity to help sort of a new generation learn the tools and get to good results as well really easily.
But you can't sell Moises short. It's just not hobbyist. And I'll give you an example. I use Moises all the time. I'm in this band with Mark McGrath from Sugar Ray, and we went out on tour. And we were using some backing tracks because there's those great David Kahn productions, and scratching and stuff. So we didn't have access to the multi-track. So we took every morning Sugar Ray, we put it in a Moises, split out the stems, and then our bass player loaded it into Ableton Live. So that's how if we're using any backing tracks, we use Moises, because you guys, your algorithm, has the least artifacts when you do those stem splits from an old stereo master.
Right.
Yeah, that part of it is really, to me, the utilitarian part of what AI can do. There's some of these things, and they're becoming commoditized really quickly as well, where they're becoming new ways to shorten the production cycle. And yeah, I hear that all the time from, like, vocal producer works with acts in, do K-pop out in Seoul, and they didn't have time to send the multi-track. He uses Moises and can do his work, basically.
Wow, that's incredible. So let's get specific, right? Because I think that one of the things missing from public conversation is just, what are people actually using and how are they making those calls? So I know we've sitting here talking about Moises, but what other tools? What tools have you used, and what do they allow you to do that genuinely you couldn't do before? And I know we've kind of touched on it, but we're speaking tool specific.
Sure. I mean, I use tools every day. Some specific tools that I have in my tool belt. One of them is similar to what Moises does. I use Fader. An example that I have, I do all the vocal production and a lot of the track production on Emily in Paris, since it's had music in the show. And what we'll need to do when, and this is particularly for Ashley Park, who plays the character Mindy on screen, when she sings, she's a singer in the show, and we're going to need to create demo material before I get her in the studio to record the real vocals. And so if we're doing a cover of a song that's been licensed by the music supervisor, I'll strip out the vocal, I'll beat map it, I'll create my production, and then when I have Ashley in the studio, I can mute the vocal that I stripped out, and it gives me something to build around as a producer who's producing the track that I will then produce the vocals on, instead of having to get a demo vocalist. So sorry for any demo singers that, maybe losing a little bit of work there, but it's so much faster.
Yeah,
it's so much
that's
faster.
incredible. I didn't even know you were behind Emily in Paris, so congrats on that. I
Thank
love
you.
that show. What about you, Kevin?
Well, just boots on the ground is, using it daily in songwriting sessions just to make my workflow, faster. Also, just utilitarian. Just the other day, like, I'm playing at Jazz Fest Saturday, right before Stevie Nicks.
Oh, wow.
And we were like, how cool would it be if we did a cover of Let's Dance? So my keyboardist, Todd Wright, says there's a Russian, which is legit, site that is where they recreate masters of songs. So you go on, you pay $5, and you get multi-tracks of Let's Dance. So then we loaded Let's Dance into SoundBreak, which is the platform I started, split out the stems, and now in 10 minutes we're doing this incredible cover of Let's Dance with horns that are paid for and licensed. With the musicians in Russia who did those, are being paid for. And we have this incredible, it sounds like Nile Rodgers playing guitar with us. And that'll be happening to about 100,000 people Saturday at Jazz Fest. We put that together 2 days ago.
I mean, it's literally cutting time down. I mean,
It's crazy.
that's
It's crazy,
yeah.
So in that respect, it's just a great tool. Just like I kind of use this example, when the Beatles started, they were getting slack for using multi-track recording because they were taking a string quartet, bouncing it down, and making a whole orchestra from 4 people, right? And then, in the 70s, Queen, on the back of every album, said, on this album, no synthesizers were used on this album. Until album 4, it was all synthesizers. Then there's Pro Tools came out. This is another tool, but it's great that we're having this panel because this is a more powerful tool than I think any of us have ever encountered.
Francois, you've spent years on the tool building side. What are producers and engineers actually asking for? Like, is your ear to the street for when they come to companies like yours? Like, it's, what's the collaboration like when you're dealing, speaking with artists, producers, engineers?
It really addresses the gamut of all aspects of creative work in music production. So it could be things where, can you generate me completely unique samples or loops based on context, which to a certain degree Splice is doing now. So you can put, you've already recorded something, you drag your tracks onto Splice, and they will kind of peruse their catalog and use AI to do a perfect match. There's also assistive tasks. I mean, the mundane things of operating Pro Tools and all the mixing tasks, there's a lot of it that could be shortened in many respects. Like you in your work, like what wouldn't you give to just spend most of your time on just doing the creative aspects of your work? So there's companies that are looking at those types of things. And then it's, imagination, like some sort of challenge posed by AI if you're a creative person, like I mentioned earlier. Something that comes back to you that you didn't expect, that I would have never thought of on yourself. And that's based upon learning on, lots of music that's been trained on, which, by the way, Kevin company and my company are all trained on licensed materials.
Yeah.
I think we're going to go into that.
Yeah.
But yeah, challenging
yes.
the producers and musicians.
Excellent, because I definitely want to segue into that, because definitely want to get into some harder questions, because not everything that's possible is something that is actually comfortable, what people are comfortable doing. So I'm going to ask you all, what does ethical AI mean to you, right? And it's even that the right way to ask and talk about it. Is ethics the right frame, or is it more about consent, compensation, and transparency?
You want me to go? To me, ethical AI, did I Scooby? You're good. It means that, the whole question is, like when Suno came out, they trained their models on everybody's music without permission. And their business plan knew they were going to get sued. That's why they raised over $300 million. They did that by design. And so ethical AI to me means a company that doesn't work like Suno, that works like Moises or SoundBreak, where the masters that were trained on, those rights holders are getting paid. And every time a AI song is generated from that data set, there's attribution, there is a software in place, so you know exactly what masters were used in that output from the AI model. So when a song is made, if we made an AI song and it came culled from all the masters that you guys made, you're going to get paid, and you're going to get paid an amount. And then the songwriters who wrote those songs get paid. To me, that's what ethical AI is, and it's within our reach. We're doing it. You're doing it.
Yeah. I really wanted to answer that question. I think ethical is a term that we have to use now, because some companies made the choice of using people's music and intellectual property without consent, and so far have gone in relative impunity. There's been lawsuits, some of them have been settled, some of them are still out there. There's not a clear legal framework around all of this. So what we have to resort to is just talk about ethics. But at the end of the day, when you do that, it's actually, to me, fundamentally illegal. You're stealing things. So you shouldn't be doing that. Now, we use the term ethical because that's kind of what we have to use, because there's no real legal framework. And that's one of the reasons the Recording Academy is here on the Hill, talking to lawmakers about making all of this have a proper framework. It is really heartwarming for me to see that there are a lot of companies that are really taking this idea to heart, because it's really hard. If you scrape the internet for all of the music in the world to train your AI, that's an easy path. Yes, you're going to have issues down the road, which they knew they would have. But actually going out and finding music that can be licensed for training purposes and tweaking your models and your technology so it can actually sound good on smaller data sets, those things are really hard. So that training data is one aspect. The other aspect is what they do with your usage of these platforms. Because you have to use, and I know we're going to talk about terms of service in a bit, but just generally speaking, there's some platforms if you put stuff in that, your vocals, lyrics, a recording, they own that as well. and you don't know about it because it's buried somewhere. And some other companies are very clear about the fact that they don't touch your stuff in any way, shape, or form. They don't use it for training. They don't use it for any other purposes. So these two aspects are what need to happen to be ethical.
I love that. Well, I know, we can sit here and talk, but I would love to see if we could show them, a couple demos on what we're speaking about, right? I think each of you guys are going to give us a quick, look at what you guys have been working on. So Francois, if you want to start and kind of explain on what your process is here.
Yeah, I'm going to stand because it's going to be a little easier. Let's see how that works. It worked for a second. Anybody wants to watch a movie? Oh, there you go. So that's a local version of Moises Studio that's actually available right now, and it's got a lot of different aspects to it. It's got the stem separation that many of you probably use, but it also has sort of this little mini AI DAW built in, which I'm having a lot of fun with. And this is basically meant to be an idea generator. It's meant to be something that if you have, if you're a singer-songwriter, you got vocals, a guitar chord progression, you record it, and then you can build upon it, and very quickly you start getting ideas and build like kind of a solid demo, as opposed to just prompting something and having. So it's a different type of process. So in this case, I'm going to show you what it does. The only thing of actual recorded material here is some pretty crappily recorded acoustic guitar from a session I did a long time ago. This is pretty bad. Okay, you get the idea. Now, I've already done the AI rendering because it takes a little bit of time to go up to the cloud, do the process, etc. But you have this opportunity here to generate actual stems. Drums, bass, guitar, and we try to make it like kind of presets based as opposed to being fully prompt based. So you choose your genre, or you just ask the AI to figure out what is the best, how is it going to work the best with what I just did. So I started with drums, and that's what came out of the AI. I did the same with bass. And the sound system is very boomy too. And then I did the same with some lo-fi keys. Now I did something that was that is going to sound a little bit ridiculous, but since they put in a guitar solo model, I decided to put it in. So it's going to sound ridiculous, but indulge me.
Let's go.
Let's go.
We like ridiculous.
I could definitely not play that. Okay, so you get the idea. You can keep iterating on all of these things. You can put more of your own recordings in there, obviously, and you have all these different choices. Now, another thing that's pretty cool is that once you're kind of done with building an idea, you can basically make a very rough mix that's done entirely by AI and export the stems, which I did, and put in my old product, Pro Tools. And I started doing stuff in Pro Tools now. All of these are individuated track. I put some room stuff on them. Put a good Sound City from Universal Audio. I started basically building a mix, and now I can record more stuff. So that's a short one. I think I'm going to hand it over to
Yeah.
Kevin.
Kevin.
I would love to see
right?
what Kevin has.
So cool. Yeah, get me up. This is my first. Yeah,
Yeah,
Moises, Francois, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much, Francois. That was awesome.
So, kind of like, as I said, my whole the epiphany for me was when I did my 90s singers deep dive into AI. I came away with AI is really the ability to take a ton of data and predict patterns, right? Whether it's a Chat GPT or Claude or music. So when I was like, oh, wait a second, people hear my songs, buddies will say, did you work on that so-and-so song? And I'll go, yeah, how'd you know? They go, well, when it hit the chorus, it sounded like one of your songs. So I was like, well, okay, so if I see songwriters, we're a lot of things, but we are a lot of patterns, like what the music we listen to. So my epiphany was like, well, if we could create an AI platform where you create AI models of your favorite artists and songwriters, not a sound-alike voice, we stay away from that, but the way we write, where users, fans could write songs with those AI versions, and where the artists get a piece of every subscription, ownership in every master that's created, then suddenly AI is a whole new potential income stream. It's a way for me to connect with fans. And then, like, imagine this. I talk to different artists. I say, hey, imagine rolling out of bed. David Ryan Harris, who's on here, he's an amazing songwriter. He's a great songwriter, touring guitars for John Mayer. I was like, imagine rolling out of bed. You look at your SoundBreak dashboard, and your AI wrote 3,000 songs last week. This is what you made from subscription. And Hello Kitty 9327 in Mumbai, India, the song she uploaded with you 3 weeks ago has 20 million streams. And that's when AI is like, as an artist, I'm like, oh my God, this could be incredible. So what we do with SoundBreak is with every artist, the first thing we do is like, hey, send me photos of your studio. This is Fitz from Fitz and the Tantrum studio in South Pasadena. And you can see it here. If I click there, it goes away. That's his studio. So we create a studio for every artist who's on the platform. We create a studio. We get together with you. You give us descriptions of your music. So we have a generic AI model that's built on licensed music. And then we get together with you and you describe your music. It's kind of like the ultimate prompt. And then we just kind of tweak it back and forth. And then if you have music that you own entirely, you can upload it so it's a refinement of the general AI model. So just like Francois said, I'm not going to render one from scratch because it takes about a minute and time is precious right now. But here's a song. I said, write a song called Gold Digger about a guy who only looks for a girl with money to date. Make it fun and funky and retro Motown sounding. Yes, I'm stealing the Kanye West song title, Gold Digger. But this is the song. And it's trial and error when we're working with an artist. Like they go, nah, it's not me. But finally you stumble. But I knew we were onto something when, listen to the hook of this song. Sounds like Fitz in the Tantrums. It's crazy. I'm going to go to the hook.
To impress, but he's only here for the $sign dress. Chasing dreams on a silver
This hook coming up will blow your mind.
Got his eyes on that green machine. Every day it's like a treasure hunt. If you got cash, he's all in front. Gold digger, digging for gold. Loves a game.
Okay, that's a nuts chorus. That's a money chorus. Okay, so here's the deal. You're a user. You're a fan of Fitz of the Tantrums. You dig that song. You say, I want to upload it to SoundBreak Radio. You put in the genre. Then you can upload it. How do I get out of here? Is this going to get me out of here entirely? Oops. Let me do this. You upload it to SoundBreak Radio, and then you send it. You can send that link to your friends and family. Hey, go listen to the song. Tell me what you think. And then your track starts going up the SoundBreak radio track. Now, every artist on SoundBreak And we have Cara Diaguardi, David Ryan Harris, Sam Hollander. These are Grammy-winning songwriters, country, pop, rap. They get an email once a week. These are your top 5 songs. And then in that email, you can reach out to that user, that fan, and give them a shout out. Like, since I'm in Better Than Ezra, what we've done is we're like, hey, help us write the next Better Than Ezra song. So now, if you see, like you see, I said, write a song with my AI, put BTE after it. We're going to choose our favorite song written with our AI, and we're going to record it. And the splits on SoundBreak, 50% goes to the user, 25% goes to the artist, 25% goes to SoundBreak. And out of our SoundBreak 25%, we pay all the rights users and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of it. This is Sam Hollander's studio. He said, Kevin, this is my studio in Bedford, New York. I want Francois writes Waterfall out front. But listen, I want to just end with this one little song real quick. This song, written incognito is a rapper in Miami. This song is nuts. Are we good on time?
We're getting there.
We're good.
Yeah, I was not born by the river in a small tent. Oh no, that was not me. Oh no, that was not me.
One last thing. So you dig that song, you're an artist, you're a user. We're the only platform where you dig that song, you hit distribute, you can distribute your song to Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, all in the same platform. You get paid directly from SoundBreak. We use Revelator, so everything's contained, tracked, and that's SoundBreak.
Incredible. Thank you so much,
Crazy.
Kevin. Incredible. So I know we're coming down on time, but I wanted to ask you all something, just from a bigger picture regarding protection and policy. And this is a question for you all, but what can be done to protect artists and creators outside of the legislative process? Like, what should the industry and tech companies be doing right now on their own without waiting for Washington?
I started reading an article yesterday, I think, when I was on the plane, talking about how Google has come up with something to detect likeness.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like what they did when it came to identifying compositions on their platform and being able to flag it, and eventually led to you being able to monetize it. But I think technology companies taking on the responsibility of coming up with the tools to police their own platforms is something that is something that we need. And so it requires a lot of good faith, and it's also, I think, incredible that there are companies that are building that in, building in ways to do it the right way. But there's a lot of we know that large amounts of data sets have been scraped already, and so anybody who wants to take the first step in giving us some way to fight back, that's what they could do.
Definitely one way, for sure. What about terms of service, Francois?
I know we're out of time, but
That's okay.
read them. By the way, the producers and engineers wing is currently working on some very simple, concise information to share with our members about what these terms of service mean, what to be on the lookout for. But mostly, you just don't want the company to own anything you put up there. That's one of the big things, because some of these platforms explicitly say that if you upload something onto them, they have an irrevocable license in perpetuity to basically do anything they want with your intellectual property, and that's something to watch out for.
Wow, incredible. Yes, definitely read your terms of service, guys. Don't just skip over it and hit the check box and move on and start working.